100% CSAT customer service score with Zillow, which has never been accomplished. In 2020, 68.5 million closed. 2021, 164 million closed. That's over 100%, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. And at 100 million right now, and on pace to do 200 million. Welcome to my good friend, Marcus Leary of Homes Paradise Realty. Brother, it's good to see you, man.
Thanks for having me, John. Appreciate it, man.
So there's a lot of places we can go, but let's just jump right into this customer service piece, which is so critical. I mean, I know that people like all the brass tacks and nails, and you know what's so interesting in the real estate business I find is people continue to drill down in skill build and tactical, and those things are super important. I think that our industry leans so much into science, but I personally feel, even as much of an analytical person you are, it's the art of the business that has created exponential growth for you and many of your peers. Let's unpack that piece right now, that customer service piece. Let's jump right into it. How did you make that happen? And where were you at? What did you have to change? And how are you going to maintain it?
So basically, when it comes down to it, keep it simple. It's the basics. And perfecting the basics. Customer service is the same across any industry. And it's just, I come from outside of real estate, and customer service was a big part of the other businesses that I've started. And if you can provide good customer service at the end of the day, a lot of times the rest of the business will take care of itself as long as you have, the good systems in place as well. But at the basic level, providing good customer service, people skills, it's the basics. I honestly don't know that we're doing much different than anyone else, but if we focus on the customer and provide good customer service, at the end of the day, that customer satisfaction score took care of itself, in my opinion. We just implemented some systems in the back end to get a higher response rate to these surveys. So.
Very good. Well, here and when you talk about simplicity, and we talk about this a lot, right, on our calls and through our relationship, the one thing that isn't simple, and you know this, and any other team leader, or broker owner, or aspiring team leader needs to know this. What's not simple is getting independent contractors to take the action. And so the art of our business is how it feels to everyone, whether it's culture, whether it's the interaction with the human being as they're going through the progression of a transaction and moving into a home or moving out of a home. Let's talk about this, though. How were you able to move human beings, independent contractors, to the accountability to constantly step up their game to excellence, while retaining them at a high level too? Because many people get into accountability and then they're afraid of it because of retention purposes. Talk about the accountability, talk about the measurement, and then also the relationships that you've kept together with your agents.
Yeah, so for us, in my opinion, it starts with first interview. We do a screening interview with our sales manager before they come and talk to me in person. I prefer in-person meetings. After getting to know the person interviewing, I talk a lot in the interview after the back and forth questions. And what I'm looking for when I talk is that they're not interrupting. They have good listening skills. They ask questions at the right moment, and there's a science behind that, I guess, too. But so asking those questions and getting to know them, and then having them listen to me, shows me that what their people skills are. And that, again, is super important in this business. And we get a little bit of a taste of that. Now, long term, for the success of the people that we do end up bringing on, it starts again with our onboarding process. We're continuously training, even beyond the onboarding process, of the importance of customer satisfaction and being available for your customers. In this business, and in really all industry, there's a huge, what I call Uberization going on. and speed to lead is key, as most of you have realized in this industry. But with this Uberization going on across industry right now, you really have to have your cell phone attached to your hip, and you have to be available for your customers. That's why Teams have become so prevalent. So we really stress the importance of being available to your customer and being helpful, even if you don't think they're going to end up buying with you. If you're helpful to them, maybe they say they have another agent, still be helpful. Maybe their agent makes a mistake. Maybe their agent isn't responsive. And we've seen a lot of times, just by being helpful, even to those that we don't think will end up buying from us, they end up coming to us a lot of times because their agent's unavailable, or they're on vacation, or it's after 5 o'clock and they won't answer their phone. Our agents are working whenever they're available. They're answering their phone, whether it's at 8 o'clock in the morning or 7, 8 o'clock at night a lot of times. So we just stress the importance of being available to your customers in today's market. So it's super important. And we have ongoing training. We with the initial phone calls, we're listening to the initial phone calls and coaching agents through those initial phone calls. With Zillow, utilizing the ALM method is clutch: appointment, location, motivation. And we're continuously making sure that the agents are sticking to that script, with Zillow especially, and continuously coaching them through one-on-ones. We have our sales manager that does one-on-ones with all of our agents. The cadence is different depending on how long they've been with us. For new agents, they're doing one-on-ones weekly for anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks, depending on how quickly they're picking things up. And then we kind of wean them off, so they go from weekly to every other week. To our more experienced agents are on monthly one-on-ones. But again, we're just continuously providing support, even for our experienced agents. And if they need to meet more often, we'll meet them more often. It's all about supporting the agents and kind of just stressing to them time and time again the importance of basics. So,
how many agents do you have right now, Marcus?
We are at we're just over 60 agents right now.
And how many did you start the year with?
We started the year with 38 agents.
38 agents. That's awesome. And the onboarding process, I kind of heard you say this, but you didn't. It's like the onboarding is constant, right? It's constant indoctrination, bringing people back. But how long is your onboarding process? You were saying, John, this is the point where we feel someone's onboarded. Certainly they're going to plug into our ongoing training and all of that. What's your onboarding look like right now? Because that's one that's always, it's got to be ever evolving, because the consumer's expectations are ever evolving. The business is evolving. What's yours look like today?
So we're constantly changing it, like you said, tweaking it here and there. I know probably about end of last year, we ended up launching Palm Paradise University through the help of a good friend of mine out in California, Mark Pattison. And then I know you were getting on me to get it out. We finally got it out end of last year, and that's been a huge piece of our onboarding process. It looks totally different today than it did back then already, but we're continuously adding information on there, changing information. Not only is it for onboarding, but it's also for continuing education as well now. So, so with the onboarding process, our onboarding process takes about 2 weeks for new agents. We recruit primarily to new agents. We're trying to bring some more experienced agents on, but most of the agents we bring on are brand new to real estate, and they're seeing a lot of success within their first year, pushing our experienced agents. So we got to teach them the basics. They're learning the fundamentals in the Palm Paradise University of not only the industry, but also our systems and the importance of our systems. And then at the end of the 2-week period, it's mandatory that they get on a mentorship program. We have, I believe now we're at about 10 plus or minus mentors. Each mentor can handle about 2 agents at a time. And the agents go through their first 3 transactions with their mentor. Their mentors are our first line from a leadership level, our first line of quote unquote, for lack of a better word, defense against questions and stuff like that. They're the first source to go to for questions. So it takes a lot of the burden off of the leadership team to focus on coaching in other areas. But so they're there to answer any questions, walk them through their first 3 transactions, provide shadowing opportunities, teach them how to take the fundamentals they learn in the university and put them into practice. So
pretty remarkable to have 10 people that you feel really good about as mentors. Mm-hmm. Talk to me about when you're looking at the mentorship program. How long have you had that in place? At what point in time your agent population was out of the gates when we had 5 agents? One of them was a mentor to the 4. When did you decide to go to a mentorship program in your organization?
So really the mentorship program has been around since I got into real estate, and we brought on our first team member back in 2017. Wow. The only difference is I was doing it for free back then. And even as we added agents on, our agents were doing it for free. We added a compensation plan where the mentor gets a percentage on a sliding scale for the first 3 transactions, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's taken away from our more experienced agents' production. It's taken away time from their family, from their personal lives. So it's fair that they get compensated from that. But, it's not about the compensation at the end of the day. It's about the culture that started back in 2017 when we were doing this for free. All of our agents were doing this for free up until about a year ago. It's the culture. And we have a strong spirit of volunteerism in our culture. Everyone's willing to help everyone else out. If your mentor is unavailable, honestly, we tell people to come into the office. We see a strong correlation between the people that show up at the office on a regular basis, especially in the beginning, and how quickly they succeed. So they're just like sponges absorbing all this information. And, if their mentor is unavailable, though, they can ask anyone else in the office for help, and everyone's more than willing to help everyone else out here. So
really good. That's awesome. So, we look at this trajectory of 68.5 million to 164 million, just remarkable, over 100%. Take us through. I mean, it's pretty dramatic, and we don't see that a lot. What were some of the growing pains that you experienced in that 68.5 to 164 million?
So I would say, I would definitely say one of the things that helped us out, I don't know if it was a growing pain trying to figure it out, but hiring more people tends to bring more issues.
Yes, it does. Real estate's easy if you just took the people out of it, Marcus.
Right. But we've managed though at the same time. And one of the things I think we've done really well actually is to hire where we're going, not hire to where we're at. So, we were never really overwhelmed with bringing the people on. I would say our biggest issue we had and still have to this day is actually the mentorship program. It's created kind of a bottleneck when our mentors are all preoccupied with their mentees. We either have to find someone that's capable to bring on to the mentorship program, but we're not just going to bring anyone on our team on the mentorship program just because we need new mentors. So that would be doing a disservice to our newer agents. So that's been the biggest challenge, I would say, that we face as we've grown, is trying to get over that bottleneck of not having enough mentors. But everything else, I mean, obviously there's been challenges along the way. There will continue to be challenges every day. But that's part of running the team and running the business. You got to face, it's the fun part actually to me. It's overcoming those challenges on a regular basis and coming out on top. So
I want to point something out. I want people to hear this because, as I do 100 calls a week with your friends and peers and get to chat with you each week, I want you guys to hear what he said. He said bottleneck with the mentors. And I want to package this or bridge this back, if you will. Yet he's got 10 mentors. And you may say, as you're listening to this or watching this, bottleneck, how's there a bottleneck? it is a very high expectation of what that mentor is delivering. I mean, that's just a simple process of deduction, ladies and gentlemen, if you're hearing this or watching this, because you've got these 10 mentors. I mean, I don't know how many people have 10 people they're confident with, and in seeing that they're not overwhelmed. And here's what it's created. It's created a condition where you see Marcus's growth, naturally recruiting. You did the math on the agencies bringing in, and then you look at the customer service part of it, and that has to do with your expectation of that mentor, big time. And so I want everyone to hear that. I mean, it's not a fly by night thing. It's your expectations that you hold along the line with every one of those mentors and mentees.
Yeah, it's amazing, honestly. It's something as simple as writing a contract, and you see agents, new agents out there with other offices in our market. Unfortunately, they're just not trained properly, and there's, errors in the contract, whether they're simple or pretty important errors. We don't have a whole lot of that in our office because, those offers go through two sets of eyes for the new agents. They go through two sets of eyes before they get sent out for signatures. And it's something as simple as putting commas in the 2 million instead of 200,000. So just stuff like that. We're really, we're going through through these contracts with a fine-tooth comb and making sure that, our agents look professional to both the other agent that they're dealing with, their buyers or sellers. I mean, it's all in the details, and it's simple at the end of the day. It's just people are rushing to get stuff out for signatures or rushing to get contracts out. But they're also never trained properly. So it's not their fault. It's the leadership. So
Sure. January 1, 2021, coming off that 68.5 million. And then you progressed through closing out to 164. What did your staff look like? And at the beginning of that year and along the way too, talk about some bumps in the road in staff, hires you made, discoveries, because a lot of people, when they're growing, I think personally, resilience is what I have seen as one of the greatest attributes of you and your peers that have this growth, because people can get really beat up when, maybe agents leave, or when a sales manager doesn't work out, or an ISA doesn't work out, and then the ops manager doesn't work out. Talk about where your staff was January 1 of 21 and where it ended up, and the journey along the way, because I think unpacking that stuff would be really, really helpful for people, not only to see what type of staffing you need to grow something like that, but know what to expect in the hiccups of the process.
Yeah, so it's actually a really good topic to talk about too. So 2016.
I've been there with you, brother.
Yeah, I know. 2016 to 2020, end of 2020. Yeah. We went through about 3 admin. I think I hired my first admin in 2017. It was more of an assistant role at the time. And then end of 2020, I believe, or Q4 2020, we brought our transaction coordinator on, or a transaction coordinator on. He's now our director of operations. That was our first hire in the business model that we're in today. It was one thing I noticed with the admin, the 3 admin that left us, and then when we hired the transaction coordinator, we allowed those 3 admin to do production part-time. I think that was a huge mistake, and I'm actually glad that we went through those 3 admin because we went through a lot of different scenarios with them and learned from our mistakes, which is important. We hired the TC, did not allow him to do any production, and we promoted growth for him within the company, hence why he's now our director of operations. So he was our first key hire. And after that,
did he come in? Yeah. Did he come in the beginning of 21?
He came in end of 2020. I believe he started in October. So again, hire to where you're going, not to where where you want
Sure.
to be. And we were kind of hiring to where we were at that point. My next hire was an interesting one, and I talked to you about this. We ended up hiring our marketing coordinator. I think it was beginning of 2021. So he was our second hire, and he was running our social media. Still is to this day, running social media, doing videography stuff for promotional material. I felt like I needed a videographer to actually put video out on Facebook instead of using my cell phone. So I remember John giving me a hard time about that. So that was.
But wait a minute, I'm using mine all the time.
So, but no, I think that was actually a really important hire, and I'm glad that I made that decision to have him as our second hire. And then after that, we ended up hiring. I think we ended up hiring another transaction coordinator to help Patrick out. And we ended up hiring a sales manager right around the same time. This was now fast forward to Q3 last year. So we ended up hiring another transaction coordinator and a sales manager right around the same time. We were actually fortunate enough to get our first Zillow rep back in the day. We ended up hiring her. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but at the time, I think it was a good step for us. We learned a lot from her. So,
Sure.
but so we ended
Talk
up
to
at
me
this
about
point.
this. Let me interject on
Yeah.
that, because here's my science to it. Because hey, you know me, I'll pump out these. I don't know if I'll ever. That's one of those things where I'll do as I say, not as I do. You know, most other things I'll do, right? But did hiring, and I want people to hear this, did hiring a videographer create not just a, hey, you got employed, but it create an accountability and attention where you had to put out more content?
Oh yeah. I mean, what are we paying this guy for? So it's, it's helped a lot, I will say, with recruiting. It's helped a lot with our brand, because at the end of the day, we're a brand. I feel like a lot of times we're a marketing company disguised as a brokerage company disguised as a marketing company. So it's helped us a lot with recruiting. It's helped us a lot with our consumers. I can't tell you how many compliments we get about our social media, even though we feel like there should be tweaks. We're always striving for perfection, even though I know it doesn't exist. But yeah, I think that was a very important piece, even back then, as much so as it is today. We actually just hired, starting next week, we have another full-time marketing person coming on. So
if you were to say, and what I love about you and all the people I get to work with is you guys are straight up regardless of what I say, and we all get bits and pieces from all the brilliance around us. But if you were to take a look at that growth trajectory, if you could only pick one thing, you had to throw everything else out. If you could pick one thing from 68.5 million to 164 million, what would you say is the number one thing that made that happen?
Easy recruiting. Period.
And what is it, and Marcus? I mean, because again, you said, and this isn't about better than or worse than, and other people. The person that does $1 billion is no different than a good person that does 200 million. So it's not about that. People have lifestyle choices, but all kinds of different things come into play. But there's also the person that's sitting there, where you were at one time at 30 million and just doesn't get over that hump. They were at 60 million. And a lot of people just really resist that. Was there a time, did you not only know all along and bought into it all along, or was it something of, well, I know I'm going to need more people, but I don't know about bringing all these people on? Was there a point where you just turned the corner and go, okay, that's where it is? Talk about your evolution of that, because obviously it's been your number one. You're doing it very, very well. We talk about it a lot. Talk about your evolution of it, because I think you can help people, because a lot of people resist it.
Yeah, it's scary, man. We got I think we got 8 or 9 people on staff. We have 8 people on staff right now. So we'll have 9 next week. That's 9 lives that we gotta have revenue coming in. And not only for today, but 6 months out, to be able to pay these people and provide, we're providing for their families at the end of the day. And, that's a lot of weight on my shoulders. And, I don't know how I sleep at night, but I do think you think about that. And it was a big step for me getting out of production.
When did that happen? When did that happen, Marcus?
I got out of production end of last year.
End of last year?
So end of last year. And even last year, I mean, really, I didn't put much forth effort. I was taking old customers and repeat. It was primarily repeat business.
So I think something to point out there though too is to be, when is the magical time? I don't know that there's a magical time, but there is the time when you're comfortable to do that, whether it's your financial resource you have backing you, whether it's your pipeline of recruits that you have coming in or that are there and have things pending. I think that's something that's different for everyone, but there's a lot of things that come into play. What was it that made you go, okay, I've got to cut this thing off? Again, not so much the end of the year, but when were you at a point where you said, okay, something, I'm not going to rely on those like I have. I'm going to move towards relying on dollars from other people. It's scary. When do you think that thing hit? Not when it hit, you thought about it. When did you make that decision?
We made the decision. We opened our brokerage up in 2018. We took our team from Remax, a Remax office in town, and opened our brokerage up in 2018. And 2018 was a good year for us, I would say. Our first year, it was exciting. But 2019, I would say we started growing a little bit more. I saw some, little issues pop up here and there. And I think I started coaching with you in 2019 also. And,
you've been hanging out that long, dude?
Yeah. Anyway, so you started hounding me about recruiting and
no,
it didn't resonate with me until about mid 2019, end of 2019. Like, shit, I got to grow this business up with people, and I got to get out of production in order to do that effectively. It's next to impossible to focus on recruiting and focus on sales at a high level for both. Beginning of 2020, we had an issue with one of our top producer, and I remember in March we were able to peacefully part ways with each other just because we're focused on the brand and he was kind of doing his own thing. No hard feelings with it, but it just wasn't aligned. We weren't aligned anymore. And I remember
was that 20 or 21? March 20.
I'm sorry. Yeah, that was 2021. So yeah.
Yeah. So I want people to hear this.
You're behind. Yeah.
So this, you guys, hang on here, Marcus. This is critical. So during this year of going from 68.5 million, this is so critical, to 164 million. Top producer leaves, and some people went with, and you still want that. Take it from there, man. I mean, just dig into that. That's huge.
Yeah. So we started bringing people on in 2020. We focused on recruiting, and then we weren't still focusing on as much as we should have, but we grew a lot with our agent count, I would say, percentage wise, at least, from 2020 to 2021. And beginning of 2021 in March, we let go of our top producer, and that was a scary thing for us. But I remember talking to John about this. He's also a very good friend of ours, and it was a lot easier, honestly, in March of 2021 doing that versus in even 3 months before that, or a year before that. I feel like it would have been detrimental to our business losing him in 2020. But 2021, we let go of him and our business flourished. So it was incredible, honestly. And it's incredible how one person with a different viewpoint of your culture and their culture, or your vision and their vision, when they don't align, it can become like a cancer within your organization. The energy's off. People feel it. So parting ways. We ended up losing 5 other agents with him over the next 6 months after he left to follow him. But I mean, that was the best thing, honestly, that happened for our business.
Didn't skip a beat. I remember you saying to me, a couple weeks after, "Hey, man, it doesn't feel good. It never does."
No.
But gosh, I mean, but from a logical perspective, looking at the numbers that go out the door and what we've got going on here, John, man, I'm just really happy and comfortable from the recruiting standpoint. And then, of course, the numbers came through for you. I mean, big time. Sends a message.
Yeah, and that was just reiterating to me, to our leadership team at the time, which was just our TC ops manager. It was a reiteration how we needed to focus on recruiting. And, that's what we've done, really focused on starting Q3 of last year, Q4 of last year. We buckled down a lot more on recruiting and been a lot more proactive. Again, which is, we're going to have another big year, especially with the market softening. We're pacing another massive growth year. So it's super exciting to see that. It all boils down to recruiting as far as that goes.
Yeah. So now you've got transactions and you have bodies and not to dehumanize that at all, but that is, from a business perspective, we have these bodies, you have these families and that you're responsible for. But with the transaction came the capability to open up a mortgage. When did you start looking at mortgage? What was your process? Because some people listening, probably most people listening to this, either they have mortgage taking place right now, they're considering it, or it's something to think about in the future. When did you start taking a look at the mortgage piece?
I started it, so I always had this idea. Again, I'm an entrepreneur, started other businesses and other industries and still have a few of them and they've been successful. Some haven't, but I've always, ever since I got into real estate, I've always wanted to build out businesses around real estate. And then actually heard Brandon Birmingham, was it yeah. So I heard him talk at one of your events actually. And I'm like, this is the guy that I was modeling myself after. I just didn't know him. So that's who I want to be. And then I saw that he didn't have any hair and I was like, I have to second guess myself, but I think he made a joke about that too. But no, I mean, it's super important. And I've always been against franchises, honestly, the whole concept of it. But again, I have limited time as it is running the real estate company. And, I still am involved a little bit in the medical device manufacturer that I have as well. So we ended up going with a franchise model for mortgage, Motto Mortgage. And literally, we ended up bringing on a good LO. I literally spend maybe an hour or two a week on it. And we opened up in February of this year. And it's been going really well. We're getting about six deals a month, 6 closings a month without any marketing yet. Wow. So, and that's our team sending over customers to get pre-qualified. We have our customer care team department, which is our ISA department, that's in-house sending over leads to get qualified. So that's really all we have going on right now. And we're dealing, I think last year we did about 450 transactions. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we're about 75% buy side. So we got a lot of business that we could push towards mortgage.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, that is the absolute no-brainer. And so let's look at, we're sitting here at the recording of this, it's June 10. How many more people, because I want people to, they hear this ramp up, but you don't stop. And so let's just go into our conversation so that they can hear. June 10th, 2022, how many more people are you bringing on as agents through the rest of this year, regardless of market condition? Because I'll speak for you here. You don't care about what the market condition is as far as bringing people on. How many people are you going to bring on through the end of the year?
Yeah, market condition is just an excuse a lot of people have. We're looking to bring on about 50 more agents by the end of the year. We're at 60 right now. We figure we might use a few more agents to the end of the year. Our target's 100 agents at the end of the year. So we got to bring in a little over about 50, I would say.
50. Wow. Wow. And when you take a look, how about let's go inside your business a little bit deeper. What percentage, because this is pretty remarkable, what percentage of the business, if you look at businesses generally, you're a very young business that's done some big numbers and you're on this great growth trajectory. What percentage of the business right now are the agents doing that they're generating themselves? And what percentage are you guys providing for the agents?
Yeah, so our sphere-based business accounts for 55% of our business.
You guys. So here's what I want you all to hear. Here is someone that is a Zillow broker. Okay, he's the top of the heap in performance customer service, and what he's done in his branding and his training and his coaching and his onboarding and educating his agents. He has created an interdependent environment, and you're very vulnerable. It's very normal here an 80, a 75, a 90% company generated, 55%. How have you been able to, you look at the youth of your organization, you look at the youth of the people you're bringing on, because you've chosen new people. How have you been able to insulate your brand at that level? And I say insulate because, if Zillow were to disappear tomorrow, how have you been able to do that?
So really it started from your first full year in the business. And then when we first started recruiting, it was a lot of word of mouth, friends of friends that wanted to get in the business or had been in the business, but had been unsuccessful. And we were able to provide them opportunity. So we have a lot of people that were born and raised in the area native to our markets. So I think that's been super important. A lot of people in our office have extensive networks. We're not big on selling Sphere, actually. Like a lot of other offices, we don't put a lot of incentive in that or initiative on that. So I actually got this from my father. Don't sell your friends. Let your experience sell your friends. So again, it goes back to the marketing that we're putting out. We're able to provide new agents instantly with all these buyer leads, access to these buyer leads. Most of our agents get their first deal under contract within their first month or two of being with us, if not sooner. And they're consistently getting business closed. And probably it takes about 6 months to a year, sometimes less if they have a big network of people. But when they're posting like sale close, sale pending, open house, they have all these opportunities, all these at-bats that we've been able to provide them. Their sphere naturally goes to the people on our team. Because
so watch this though. Let me go underneath that though. I want you all to hear this. That's just not a normal thing. What Marcus has done through his leadership team is train his agents to leverage themselves by the transaction and market themselves. You've got that sphere of influence, and we're talking about we want to generate 2 more pieces of business in 18 months off the one I gave you. Build the business around it. Basically, what you've done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we get the people, their friends that live in the area are going to our agents because they see all the stuff they're posting on social. They see all the stuff we're posting on social. Chances are that their friends know multiple agents in our office, so that makes them feel a little bit more comfortable. And then all the branding stuff that we put out, that's not even involving them. One thing too, actually, to point out, and you've been telling me to do this for a long time, that's really been helping out. We really focused on this and still aren't as consistent as we need to be, but recognizing the agents on our team on my personal page and tagging them in it and have everyone share that on our team. I mean, just showing the appreciation for the agents on our team, that is a big thing too for the sphere. So it's really everything we do plays a part.
Yeah, it does. It does. The I want to come back and wrap on this, and it's standards are the most overused term in our industry, and we all really want to hold people to it, but we're a hostage to the agents in most cases. You do not get 100% customer service score by being a hostage to your agents. In the best way that you can, because I think this is the most challenging place on the planet for leadership and for growth. I mean, everything starts and ends with people. How have you found that sweet spot, Marcus? The best way you can articulate it, where I'm going to hold you to a standard, and support may not look like I'm supporting you. It may not feel like that, but I really, really am. And yet not have this space of you're a hostage to them leaving in the best way that you can. How have you held them to the standard? Because if you know where I started this thing, you didn't hear 100% customer service is related to standards and accountability. How have you done that?
So we've evolved a lot in that too. We used to bend a lot. And
used to bend a lot.
Used to bend a lot.
Yeah.
Not saying we don't anymore. You always have to be flexible, but we used to bend a lot. And as we've gained experience in this industry, and as we've grown, and again, learning from our mistakes and letting people get away with stuff in the past that we would have zero tolerance for today, having standards is super important. And we've learned the hard way, and a lot of times we've learned from our network through other people we know. Most of the time we have to experience it ourselves, though. Self-discovery, as John says, is the most powerful way to learn. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's just going through and learning that, you know, when people make mistakes or do things that they shouldn't be doing or aren't living up to our standards we have as our team and our culture, and the way that they act, even, man, we used to give a lot more leeway, and we tightened up ship a lot. And it's not a bad thing. I think that's got a negative connotation to it a lot of times. But by having standards in place and holding people accountable to those standards, it comes natural to them. And as we recruit the new agents on and ingrain the standards in the way that they perform, the old agents or the agents that have been here, you know, since the beginning, they conform to that pretty easily. And it's helped us grow tremendously, because now we can kind of guide them easier. And as we make changes, the changes occur easier because they know what to expect. And they know that we have their best interest. I would say that's a huge thing, is the trust. I feel fortunate to have the trust of the agents that I can guide them and I can guide our team in the right direction, that we can navigate through, you know, changing markets. And they trust me to lead them. Again, it's a big responsibility, and I'm honored to be their leader, but yeah, standards are super important.
Yeah, good. Well, a few things. Number one, I want to congratulate you and thank you at the same time. It's been great building a friendship with you, and being able to walk alongside you in the communities that we're in together, and in the example that you set for so many others. I think the one thing that I would pass along watching Marcus is that he's a lifelong learner. I mean, he has invested his time, he invests in his staff. I mean, just constantly learning. Well, at the same time, though, too, I think the thing, I was having a conversation earlier with someone else, is picking and choosing, though, what works within his personality and within his environment. There's no one way. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Yeah. Where's the best place that people can reach out and connect with you if someone wants to chat further with you, learn a little bit more about go deeper into some of the things you shared, Marcus?
Yeah, if they want to reach out, palmparadise.realestate.com. Our office number's on there. They can reach out 239-349-2487, and our staff can connect you with me. If you want to shoot me an email, Marcus, Marcus at palmparadise.team.com is the email. And obviously Facebook, I'm pretty easy to find on there. Marcus Larea, always DM me, but yeah, I'd be happy to help any of you guys out. And one thing I want to say, John, I might have you beat on my yearly budget for coaching. I don't know, but always be learning. I think I have 4 or 5 coaches right now across a couple of different organizations, a couple through John. And honestly, I wouldn't be where I'm at today if it wasn't for everyone involved, and everyone that's helped me to grow and helped our organization and our team to grow. So, yeah, I appreciate you, John. You've been a big part of that, man.
That's good. And I'm gonna tease everyone here a little bit. Possibly in the near future, or it may be at the time that you watch and listen to this, Marcus may be someone that's unpacking this for other people at another level too. We'll just leave it at that one, because the one thing that's pretty neat about the people I've worked with is there comes a time when they want to pass that on, because 2 things: it's the contribution, but then it also is what keeps them on that great trajectory. Brother, I appreciate you. Onward, and we're on the path to 100 agents. Thanks so much.
Awesome, man. Thanks a lot, John.